Imagine you are inside a farmhouse. It's late at night. The family is inside. 11 people total. Men, women, children. The doors are locked. The lights are on. And something is crawling on your roof. Not something that fell. Not an animal you recognize. Something with glowing yellow eyes, long arms, claws scratching against the tin. Something that no matter how many times you shoot it, just gets back up. This is not a ghost story. This is something worse. Tonight we are going back to August 21st, 1955, a tiny farm on the outskirts of Kelly, Kentucky, and the night that 11 terrified people fought something that to this day no one has been able to explain. My name is Avas Heather, and this is Bedtime Horror Stories. The Sutton family had lived on that farmland for years. Old Elias Sutton, they called him Lucky, ran the property with his wife Glennie. Their farmhouse sat on a dirt road about 8 miles outside the town of Hopkinsville. No neighbors close by. The nearest town was a drive away. That evening, the house was full. Lucky and Glennie were there, along with their adult sons and daughters, some in laws and children, 11 people altogether. They were not a dramatic family, they were not storytellers or attention seekers. They were just Kentucky farm folk, practical, tough, and skeptical. One of the visitors that night was a young man named Billy Ray Taylor. He had come to stay with the Suttons for a few days. Around 7 p.m., Billy Ray stepped outside to fetch water from the well. He came back inside, different, shaken, wide eyed. He told the family he had seen something in the sky, a bright object, silver, disc shaped, moving fast without any sound. He said it dropped towards the tree line at the back of the property and disappeared. The Suttons did not believe him. Lucky laughed it off. Someone made a joke. It was probably a shooting star, they said. A plane? One of those things you see at night when your eyes are tired. Billy Ray let it go. For about an hour. Around 8 o'clock, the dog, the family dog that had been outside all evening, suddenly started going crazy, barking, howling, scratching the door. Not playful, not bored, terrified. Lucky and Billy Ray grabbed their guns. Lucky had a shotgun. Billy Ray had a .22 rifle. They were not afraid of the dark. These were men who had hunted their whole lives. They opened the door and stepped outside. And there it was, coming across the field towards the house. A creature, 3.5 feet tall, maybe 4, thin, almost impossibly thin, with a huge round head and enormous eyes that glowed yellow in the dark. Its arms were long, too long for its body, and its hands ended in talons. Its skin, or whatever covered it, had a silver grey shimmer to it, like metal, like something that was not alive the way we are alive. It walked with its arm raised, not aggressive, not surrendering, just held up, moving in a strange floating way, like it did not quite obey gravity the same way everything else did. Lucky raised his shotgun. He fired. The creature flipped backward, landed on its feet, and kept walking. Billy Ray fired the .22. Same result. The shots were hitting. Both men were certain of it. They could hear the impact, a sound they described as hollow, metallic, like shooting a tin bucket. But the thing just absorbed it, shook itself off, and kept moving. The two men backed into the house and locked the door. And that's when we realized there was not just one. What followed was 3 hours of pure terror. The creatures surrounded the house, not attacking, not smashing through windows or breaking doors, just watching, circling, appearing at one window, disappearing, reappearing at another, and every time someone saw one, everyone in the house saw it too. 11 witnesses, all reporting the same thing. At one point, a creature crawled on the roof. The family could hear it. The scratch of talons on tin. Slow, deliberate, like it was mapping the house from the outside. Glennie Sutton saw one peering in through the window, its huge yellow eyes pressed close to the glass, tilting its head, studying the family inside the way you would study an insect in a jar. He screamed. The men kept shooting. Every time they hit one, it would somersault or float backward or drop to the ground and then get up again. The bullets were doing nothing, nothing permanent, nothing final. At one moment, Billy Ray stepped out on the porch to get a better angle, and a claw reached down from the roof above him and grabbed his ear. One of the Sutton men grabbed him, pulled him back inside. The, the door slammed shut. The children were crying, the women were praying, the men were shaking, not from fear of dying, but from something worse than that, from the feeling that things outside were not trying to kill them. They were just curious. For a while, the creatures seemed to vanish. The sound on the roof stopped. The faces at the windows disappeared. The dog had gone completely silent, not because it calmed down, but because at some point in the night it had crawled under the porch and never came back out. The family waited 20 minutes, 30, nothing. They made a decision that anyone in the farmhouse would have made. They ran for the cars. All 11 of them piled into two vehicles and drove, headlights blazing, engine roaring, the 8 miles into Hopkinsville to the police station. It was just past 11 p.m. What happened next is one of the most thoroughly documented responses to a UFO incident in American history. The police did not laugh at them. They could not. 11 people were standing in the station, adults and children both, shaking, sweating, some crying, some barely able to speak. Lucky Sutton's hands were trembling so badly he had trouble signing the report. These were not hysteria prone people. The chief on duty said he had never seen that many people that terrified at one time. Within the hour, the response was overwhelming. Local police, state troopers, military police from nearby Fort Campbell Air Force Base all drove out to the Sutton Farm. More than a dozen officers in total. What they found was strange. The house was riddled with bullet holes from the inside out, confirming the family had been shooting at something. Shotgun shells and rifle casings were scattered across the floor and porch. The tin roof had scratches consistent with something large moving across it. The windows showed smears, not fingerprints exactly, but pressure marks at the height described. But no bodies, no blood, no tracks, no tissue. One officer reported seeing a luminous patch in the grass near the tree line, glowing faintly, for no apparent reason. By the time investigators got to it, it had faded. They could not explain it. The military contingent from Fort Campbell were particularly thorough. They swept the property, checked the tree line, looked for evidence of hawks or human involvement. They found nothing that explained what the family had seen. By 2 a.m., the officers left. The Suttons, having nowhere else to go, returned to their own farmhouse. And at 3:15 in the morning, the creatures came back. Glennie Sutton saw one outside her bedroom window. Same glowing eyes, same long arms, same tilted head, studying her the way it had before. She forked the men. They did not shoot this time. They watched. They waited. The creature stayed for a while, moving around the edge of the property, appearing and disappearing from different windows. And then, sometime before sunrise, it was gone. The Sutton family never fully recovered from that night. They gave their testimony to police, to journalists, to researchers, dozens of times over the decades. The story never changed in any significant detail. 11 people across hundreds of separate interviews described the same creatures, the same behavior, the same sequence of events. Lucky Sutton, in one of his final interviews before his death, was asked whether he regretted going public with what happened. He said, and I want you to hear this carefully. I know what I saw. I know what happened in that house. And I would give anything, anything to unsee it. In the years since, the researchers have tried hard to find a rational explanation. The most popular theory is that the family encountered great horned owls, large owls, yes, impressive birds, but owls. The reasoning goes that the silver sheen could be moonlight on the feathers. The glowing eyes could be their reflective tapetum. The floating movement could be their silent flight. But here's the problem with that. Great horned owls are not 3.5 feet tall. They are not bulletproof. They do not crawl on the rooftops for hours. They do not press their faces to glass and stare into rooms. They do not travel in the groups. And they do not, in any documented case in history, survive being hit with a 12 gauge shotgun at close range. Others have suggested swamp gas, mass hysteria, collective hallucination, the usual catalogue of dismissal that investigators reach for when they cannot explain something. But you do not hallucinate bullet casing on the floor. You don't collectively invent scratch marks on a tin roof. And you don't send 11 people into simultaneous, uncontrollable panic over a shared drain. The truth is, nobody knows what the Stetton family encountered that night. The Air Force closed the case without a satisfying conclusion. The police report still exists. You can read it. Researchers have studied this incident for almost 70 years, and as for right now, no one has a better answer than the family themselves. Before you close your eyes tonight, I want to leave you with one thing. The Sutton Farm still sits outside Kelly, Kentucky. The road is still there, the land is still there. Somewhere out in that tree line, on the edge of that property, something came out of the dark one August night. It was not afraid of guns. It wasn't afraid of lights. It wasn't afraid of 11 people screaming and shooting at it. It was just watching. And the one question that nobody has ever been able to answer, not the police, not the Air Force, not 70 years of researchers, is what exactly it was watching for. That's it for tonight's episode for Bedtime Horror Stories. If this kept you up, good. That means it worked. If you are new here, subscribe. We cover real cases, real disappearances, real huntings, and real encounters. No fiction, just the truth, which is always scary. And if you are watching this in the dark, maybe check the window before you sleep. Good night.